before dawn, a day of pain about to break. A minute's silence, commemoration where 347 were brutally killed, 40 taken hostage. A year ago, these fields filled with fear. Hamas overrunning the Nova Music Festival. Raz Grofi survived, missing her friends, riven by guilt.
Unequivocally, crazy guilt feelings. I have friends who came here because of me, and they are not with us. It's something you live with every day, probably forever.
Nothing will bring us back what we lost. We came back here with other friends that we were together. Some didn't come back.
Roey Derry trembles as he talks, here for his friends who didn't make it.
Yeah, it's bringing memories every time we remember another piece.
Nova today, a sea of sorrow, sadness, tears and suffering, a rawness that knows no easing.
It feels like yesterday. We still haven't accepted that she's gone.
Aunt of Amit, 23 when she was murdered.
She was murdered with her best friend, Shira. That's very difficult to be here.
But still the war's going on in Gaza. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
We didn't anticipate that it's going to be 1 year. We thought it's going to be 1 week. We're going to bring all the hostages back. And that's it.
That war still close. Helicopters overhead deterring attack. Remembrance punctured by explosions. Suffering not limited to these families and these fields.
I know me. I know me.
I have the state emergency response team preparing for the largest evacuation that we have seen, most likely since 2017 Hurricane Irma.
Floridians are bracing for the second major hurricane in less than 2 weeks. Forecasters predict Milton will make landfall Wednesday and then plow across most of the state. Officials are issuing both mandatory and voluntary evacuation orders for at-risk areas.
I urge Floridians to finalize your storm preparations now, enact your plan. I highly encourage you to evacuate.
The National Hurricane Center warns flooding could threaten millions of residents. Some are preparing with sandbags.
We got kind of damaged Hurricane Ian, so just make sure that we get a little bit more precautious, making sure all the sandbags are at our doorstep garage.
I think we're just going to put sandbags in our back porch. We're going to get like groceries later and stuff in case it's really bad.
Milton's timing could be dangerous. In some areas, the ground is already saturated from Hurricane Helene, and cleanup from that storm continues.
And look at these Great Lake battleground states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Look, you see some blue on this side of the screen, right? These are a little bit more friendly to Kamala Harris than the Sun Belt that we'll get to in a second. But look at this. A 1-point advantage in Pennsylvania, 2 points in Michigan, 2 points in Wisconsin, all well within the margin of error, too close to call. You come over now to the Sun Belt battleground states, you got a little bit more red here. Trump up by a point in North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia. Nevada, Harris holding on to a 1-point advantage, but again, very, very tight. So what does this mean for the electoral map, all right? So let's take a look and say, okay, imagine if the polls match what end up being the results perfectly, right? That's probably not going to happen, but for the sake of this exercise, let's do it. Kamala Harris gets to exactly 276 electoral votes, slightly more than the 270 she needs to win. Donald Trump right behind at 262.